It's easier to emotionally manipulate for large screen than for the small screen.
Earlier, first part of Suzhal, we were actually thinking of 4 directors. Actually, Prime came and told us, Amazon Prime, you are setting yourself, you'll just kill yourself. Like, don't get 4 people, you'll go
too much to manage.
So it takes a year and a half for the writing process to happen, and another year and a half for the show to be made, from green light to the show to be made. So you're looking at a 3-year cycle minimum.
So see, Tamil also, you'll have like these 1 or 2 like random small films which is doing well. So, or Hindi or any market, no, but those are just the exceptions.
When you take a big star and put them into a smaller film which doesn't have the perception of it being a 100 crore film, no, the chances of it tanking are really high.
Gayatri, Pushkar, thank you so much for being here. This is a conversation I've been wanting to have with the two of you for the longest time. So I'm so glad we could be finally doing this.
Yeah.
We're happy to be here.
Conversation for the longest time. Okay, I guess that's some questions then.
No, I mean, I have so much I want to pick your brains on the state of the industry, the streaming landscape. But we will, of course, start with a show that I'm a big fan of, Suzhal. We were about to approach season 2. I know I'm butchering the pronunciation, so I apologize in advance for that. But I just find it so interesting what you guys do with the murder mystery packaging and how you use that to really suck us into the lives of the people of this one town and all the various interesting places you take us. But first off, I wanted to ask both of you, the first season was 2022, right? That was the first time you guys were approaching long form. What were your biggest learnings from that, and what changed in your approach to this new season?
I think one thing is, and this also has to do with the changing landscape of OTT. We need to get into the main story a little faster. Okay. So this, I think you would see it across platforms, across the world, where world building, then get into the plot, is changing into do a little bit of the world building, get into the plot, and then figure out a way of continuing the world building. So this we are seeing across Europe, US. I think they started a little before also, but over the past 2 years, there's been a quickening of that pace. And I think that's something which you have to accept that, okay, the attention span of people is now going down. The slow burn is not something which is the natural inclination of people. These are larger changes, how cinema has gone through many changes over the past 10-15 years, right?
And see, cinema, it is still a captive audience, and like, it's a dark hall, and you're kind of like, you're sitting there to watch something. In spite of that, people start digging their phones and all.
Yeah.
With OTT, like what you're saying, so it's way more challenging, as in with just one button, people can switch to something else, or there'll be some family member calling you, your dog barking, or some delivery happens, so all those things. So you need to cut across all that to retain people's interest.
Okay.
So that, I think, one way to do is keep surprising the audience, like, keep them on the edge, like, give them something which they didn't see coming. So that writing that actually becomes a lot more challenging.
So is it more frequent surprises as well as getting to a surprise quicker in the first episode? Is that what you mean? That like?
So I think it's a mix of both, in the sense that, see, what is the plot of the story pretty much comes through when you start the publicity work, when the trailer comes out and all that. What is the first plot turn which you bring in at that, needs to come within your first episode. We brought it in the second episode last time. So this time around, it happens pretty much at the end of the first episode. Where is the story going to head from here? Because once you set up your inciting incident, what is the crime? And then what is the direction of the investigation is the big turn in any crime drama actually. That needs to come a little earlier, so the people are now looking at it from, oh, okay, it's going to start going in this direction. One more thing which we have learned, which I think we kind of did in the first season also, is that generally there's this thing in OTT space that you have your A story, B story, C story, right? So one thing which we are seeing as a trend all over is that you don't do this anymore. So in season 1 also, we had 2 perspectives. There was the Sakrai's perspective, there was the Nandini's perspective of what is happening. So it is the same story. This idea of like you have one character and their story, another character and their story, and these two are not connected intrinsically, they're connected by maybe the crime which needs to be solved or the problem they need to escape from, but you need to invest a lot in this story and that story. This, I think, is changing dramatically. So what we are thinking is, it's a question of whose eyes are you seeing the story through. You will need to make that even more consistent. Like, you will need to see the story through certain perspectives and not split it up into this multi-character storytelling kind of format. At least for the larger shows, if I might
like,
say.
you know, we have like a whole bunch of characters who are detailed and all that. But like, you know, what he's saying. So thing is, like a lot of times, no, that B story, C story kind of thing, when the plot is like, you know, escalating, when the stakes are high, then you go into like the smaller characters' personal stories, no? You kind of lose that. You kind of miss out on that, and then like you lose engagement in both the stories. So I think all that should be done earlier, and then when the plot like kicks and thickens, no, it has to come together. It can't be like, okay, this is like one character scene. Plot and character needs to go together. So
it sounds like a very tricky balancing act.
Yeah, and one of the series which did that well was Patal Lok. You see Jaideep's personal life, his relationship with his wife, and what is happening. You realize at the midpoint, when the big change happens, when the big incident happens, this is what it was leading up to. The involvement of the personal story led up to this complete twist in the main story. That we thought was really smart writing, really smart writing.
I was going to actually ask you both what your relationship is with Patal Lok and Kaura, you know, Sudeep Sharma's work, purely because, you know, he seems to have a similar aspiration to you guys, you know, making these elevated crime dramas and using it to really say a lot and do a lot. Speaking of, and you also mentioned perspective, I think that's a hallmark of your work for sure. You know, you keep playing with perspective and perception so much. But speaking of investigation, what goes into designing a murder mystery? You know, you are giving us a murder, you're sort of painting all these different suspects, you're dropping information where we have twists, we have revelations, we have red herrings, you're trying to keep the audience on their toes, not make it too obvious, and you're obviously doing it over many episodes. So is it as fun as it looks to just design that larger plot of the murder and sort of all of those aspects? And what's the toughest part?
The toughest part, okay, so you tie all these knots, and at the
there are
end
a lot
of
of knots.
Lots of knots.
Yeah.
The trick is, one pull of the string at the end needs to unravel all these knots. You can't be picking each knot out separately towards the end. So all the knots which you planned need to have a single plot point which will unravel all those. Now, to find that, and that having the larger meaning you're going for. So unless that happens, all this is pointless. So then it'll be just one of those. I mean, and we have seen hundreds of Hollywood films which will have this really convoluted drama, and then at the end of it, it's like, dude, so what happened to that line? What happened to this line? You guys just conveniently forgot that. So,
and like, you know, if it is a plot intrinsic thing, retaining the soul of the show, no, that becomes very crucial. Otherwise, you know, like it might be a clever plot, and like, you know, there are these twists and turns and all that. But beyond all that, there needs to be a soul. I mean, otherwise it'll be a generic plot-driven kind of thing. So getting that character and the soul of the story with the plot, no, and hiding the plot as much as possible. As in, don't make it very obvious. Okay, this is going to, this is the big reversal. This is the character turn. This is the plot turn. So that actually is the most challenging part, I would guess.
But if I was a fly on the wall, just watching you guys devise this massive sort of murder mystery, what am I seeing? Is it a lot of like sticky notes? Like, what does that process look like?
No, actually,
earlier we
used to have this massive board in our office which just got cluttered over a period of time. So now the system we kind of work with is, there are a few key moments which we try to identify first. These are the A-level plot twists. These would lead to large reveals. And there is no going back from any of these points. Okay, these are points of no return. Okay. So you identify the points of no return and you populate points of return between any two points of no return. So a red herring is actually a point of return. It is not a point of no return. A plot which takes you on a tangent, you usually come back to going up to the point of no return. So in a long form, we ideally have about, in an 8-episode thing, there are about 4 points of no return. And everything else is structured to get to these. So now if you start identifying this, then you get these smaller twists. Because of this, something might change later. One of those points of no return might change later. But at least you have the bare bones. You have the basic 4 bones which is going to hold up the show. And then you start building those things in between. Then we take each segment from this point to this point, and how are we going to develop on this? Then next point to next point. But these 4 points will have to have what Gayatri said, the soul of the investigation, of the drama, and of the myth in this case, will need to kind of coincide on all these points, which makes it very tough for us to find. This is what takes us usually years. Once that is done, the next step takes us months. Then actually writing the final script happens within a few months. So
actually it is like, some ways building a building or drawing, no? So you kind of make your foundation, make your plan first, and then put your foundation stone. So you have these things. So between that, you can have a wall, you can have 2 windows, 3 windows, and interior, you can do like a lot of stuff. But where you lay your, pillars, that actually kind of really informs you on, okay, these things have to be there, and in between I can go do this and that. Like, or if you're drawing, you do like a face and then one stick figure. So you have your proportions. Then you fill it up, and then you can color it, you can do whatever, no? So those things, that's how we kind of try to.
And if you were a fly on a wall watching that, you would fly away. It's worse than watching paint dry.
It's part of the process. There's a lot talked about, like you just said, about the difference in writing a show versus a film. You're following characters, many episodes, there's an entire different structure to it. But I wanted to talk to you about, I know you don't direct your shows, you are the showrunners, you have directors working for you, but is there a difference when you're staging a scene from a series? Even if it's an action scene, for example, which you do very well, is there a different muscle? Is there a different way you're approaching that versus if it was an action scene or even sort of a dramatic scene for the big screen? Because I feel like not enough is talked about if there's anything changing from a direction perspective of a series versus a film.
So one of the things is, at least this is our perspective.
Yes.
No truth in this, it's just perspective. We feel with cinema, you actually expand on narrative beats. So narrative beats are few and far in between. So you fill it with spectacle and you elongate those sequences. Say a car chase, okay? So a car chase on the big screen can be one of those things which will give you that visceral pleasure, and it'll bring you to the edge of the seat. It won't translate really well to a long form storytelling format. You need to shorten that because you need to get to the next narrative beat, not the action beat. I think that is, at least what we are understanding, is that's fundamentally the difference between how we are writing cinema and series. And this is coming from a place where, as we are writing Suzhal 2 and something else which we are working on in the long format, we've been parallelly trying to work our feature script. So the switch between the two has taught us a lot of things in terms of, you want certain world building to happen with a little more time in long form, but it needs to come with a conflict associated with it. While in the large screen, you can build that world without that conflict. Because what keeps people hooked to the smaller screen, especially if you're traveling and watching on a phone, what keeps you hooked is the movement of the story rather than presentation of characters, presentation of events.
I think it has something to do with the distance between you and the screen. I mean, whether it's a television you're watching in or your iPad or your phone, no? So it is like, it's almost like another person in front of you. Whereas, with theatre, there is a distance and it is darkness, so you are getting into a make-believe world. So, like that slight pitching or that spectacle value, or that, spectacle you can have both, but like what you were saying earlier, no, that detailing out of the action, no, that is required, and it is a community viewing. This is like a little more personal and more intimate. So your story beats have to keep changing.
It's easier to emotionally manipulate for large screen than for the small screen. but just the sound, the largeness of the screen with music and all that, it is easier for the audience to get invested heavily. Where when you're watching on a small screen, the edge of your screen is a centimeter away from your eyes flicking. So if that happens, you've lost this moment which is just built on sound or visual or anything which is not narrative. No, it's very easy to lose interest. And we are trying to structure our feature film script. So we are trying to take the best learnings from writing long form and see how we can get that narrative beats consistency with this. So how will that split? How should, where do you place those points of no return?
And getting that visceral feeling of the big screen into the small screen. So actually,
I love that.
That has been
best of both worlds.
Yeah, that has been interesting.
And also you, again, even with season 1, if I'm not mistaken, you didn't direct any of the episodes.
Yeah.
Right? And I was just thinking, even in sort of Hindi cinema, the few true blue showrunners we have, Vikram Vedha, Sudeep Sharma, they don't direct. At most, they'll direct 1 or 2 episodes, but they have directors sort of, working for the show. They are the showrunners. They are sort of part of the writing often. If I'm making a show and I want to follow a similar system, how do I know how many directors I should be working with and how many episodes each director should direct and which episodes those are? How do I find my structure?
I think there is no one way. See, like if you say your modern love kind of property, no, that
which is more of an anthology.
Yeah, then you do with how many ever. And actually earlier, first part of Suzhal, we were actually thinking of 4 directors.
But you ended with 2, right?
We ended with 2.
Actually, Prime came and told us, Amazon Prime, you are setting yourself, you'll just kill yourself. Like, don't get 4 people, you'll go
too much to manage.
And actually, that made sense. So, narratively also, no, like usually the midpoint has like this one big something big happening. So the mood kind of changes from the first half of your thing to the second half of your series. So that way, for us at least personally, this 2-director thing actually kind of works pretty much for us.
Yeah, I think somewhere this feels like a good space. But something else we are working on, we are looking at maybe 3 directors. Why specifically? Because there are 3 distinct looks to it.
Okay.
So 3 distinct storylines to it. So it makes sense to have 3 directors. In this 1, 2, 6, 7, 8 Brahma has directed and 3, 4, 5 Sarjun has directed. And there is a reason why this 1, 2, 6, 7, 8. What Brahma sets up in 1, 2, he has to resolve in 6, 7, 8.
Okay.
So it was like, dude, you better set it up right because it's going to be on your head.
Accountability.
I think, but if you take international series, like a Game of Thrones had many directors on one season. Like there was one season where I think they had 5 directors or something like that.
I imagine those WhatsApp groups are insane, but
I mean, they've somehow cracked it, maintain the consistency of
and they're all making the same
performance, everything. I mean, the drama, the pitching of the drama everywhere. So
we will just get lost in the scheduling thing because see how you go into a shoot is you get a location and you're paying a lot for that location. So you're going to finish everything which you need in that location. Say it's a house with an interior and an exterior and you've spent a lot of money in setting it up. There might be bits from the first director, there might be bits from the second director, and it's going to be 1 day of shoot. So we have had many days where first half of the day Brahma would be shooting, then second half of the day Sarjun would be shooting, but it's the same DOP, the same art director, and the same actors. So for the actors, it gets a little tough
I can imagine,
in the first few days, but then they get used to it. Every once in a while, because the arcs are also difficult for actors to track, right? I mean, you're looking at 8 episodes and you have to figure out how you're
because you're not doing it linear, so it's a lot
of all over the place. It's pretty much by location, by sequence that you do. And then you also have directors who communicate with the actors differently. Every director communicates in a very personal way, right? So it gets a little tough, but then I think actors are also growing up to embrace that. So now they're trying to build a character with the inputs from director A and director B, and the main thing is what is the script saying, where am I at this point of time.
I think pre-prod actually becomes way more important
to have those conversations
with 2 directors and showrunners and like a crew and all that. So we do a lot of time during pre-prod. I mean, we discuss almost every scene with the director. So how we see it, how they see it, and then recce's, initial recce's also we go. So all that discussion, no, somewhere we'll all be in the same universe, like same kind of how we look at the show. Then actually things get a little easier, and our actors, I mean, at least Kathir and Aishwarya, so first, like, you know, they were just like getting kicked all around, as in each director has one completely different approach, and like even the way they say action, no, is like dramatically different. So, but now actually with season 2, I think all that is settled.
It's funny because if hypothetically in season 3 you brought in a new director, you know, Kathir and Aishwarya could literally say, we now know these characters better than
Oh yeah, they pull that with Arjun also. It's like, hey, I've done this last time also, you know. That
You are the newbie guys.
But I think actors also quickly learn. Like, we could see that difference between especially Kathir's performance over season 1 to now. He's now feeling more like a veteran in terms of how he's handling the role. And as you see through the episodes, you'll see that where he ended in season 1 to where he is now, no, he's grabbing those moments with his eyes a lot. So we were really, really happy with the way Sakra's character has been molded. It was a joy to watch the outtakes. I mean, like on the edit table, we were just watching all the 5-6 takes which happened for any particular shot. And me and Gayatri were just feeling very proud of what Kathir had done through the whole process.
Look at how our boy has grown.
No, he's a joy to watch. I mean, I was very lucky to have him on our round table at Film
Oh yeah.
So I'm so glad we had him there. I also have to take this opportunity to ask you some wider landscape questions. So I wanted to ask you about the state of streaming in the 4 industries in the South, or even if you'd go to Tamil cinema specifically. You know, it feels like the major platforms have put a lot of time and energy and resources into building the foundations of series making and streaming originals, but all in Hindi cinema, you know. And it just feels like for the longest time the South was disregarded. You know, we got a few anthologies, but that wasn't much. And recently it is changing. And as a result of that, there are very few true blue very fine shows from the 4 industries in the South. In Hindi cinema today, all the finest storytelling is on shows. You know, it's not in theatrical. And you're, I think, the only exception to that, to my knowledge, of really making something really, really fine. Why is that? Why are you the exception?
I think it is just, I mean, I think all these big guys came in and set up office in Bombay.
Yeah.
That was like, what, some 7-8 years back. So
first they were trying to 2017-18 is when the first shows started coming. Right?
First they were trying to set up their team here and, you know, get their footing here and all that. So now that has happened. Now they are actually starting to, now they have smaller teams in Chennai and in Hyderabad. I mean, actually when we started Suzhal, even the Bombay team was very small.
Okay.
So it just takes that amount of time, I guess. So I say this set up here and they started doing shows. Now it's happening there. Now they're actually trying to actually assemble a lot of shows. They put a lot of shows in development. So it's just like a...
So thing is, there is a lot of stuff in development over there. It's taken that cadence. I think we came in earlier than the rest of the people in the South.
Because that's what I was curious about, because there's so much fine storytelling talent in Tamil cinema, but you seem to be the only ones who've really crossed over in such an interesting way.
I think it's just going to take another year or so.
So you're the early...
As far as we know, this year itself, between all the networks, there are some very fine shows which are going to come out.
Exciting.
Which have already been done or just about finishing production. So maybe end of this year, next year. Even for us, no, we started in 2020 and it released in 2022. We started shoot in 2020. Okay, there was a COVID break and all that. It released in 22. Then we started writing. It's now 25 and we are releasing the next episode. So it takes a year and a half for the writing process to happen and another year and a half for the show to be made, from green light to the show to be made. So you're looking at a 3-year cycle minimum. And they started in 2020. So this is only the second round of that cycle which is happening now.
And another thing is, I think, I mean, a lot of people are not used to writing the long form. And
just the stamina to churn out so many seasons.
I mean, not so many seasons. Like, it is just, even if it is single thing, no? So that, like, I think Bombay, since it's been around for some time, you have like your writer's room, all that thing sorted. Actually, even we don't have like a proper writer's room. Actually, most of the writing we do. I mean, pretty much the whole thing. So all that infrastructure will slowly get built. I mean, I guess,
the ecosystem has to develop to accommodate that. No, trying to put together a writer's room for long form is very tricky because we get a lot of, I mean, obviously Amazon Prime will be doing this much larger, but we do get a lot of pitch for us to produce. And out of all that, there are only 2-3 shows which we actually wanted to take forward out of like, say, maybe 50, 60, 70 proposals which have come our way. Because most of them are failed film projects, which never took off, which they're repurposing. Fine. But if you're repurposing, you still need to build stories for whatever, 6 episodes or 8 episodes.
It can't be a movie in 4
It can't, like literally every episode will have one point. And they've literally taken, okay, 2-hour movie, chop, let's pull this a little more and make it into 6 episodes.
We've had a lot of those as well.
So that, I mean, at least it won't go past us on that stage. We tell them like, this is not enough. I mean, you have the bones of a story, but you will need to do a lot more work to get it to a series. Now there are, to our knowledge, a few writers who are actually conscious of the structure of long form storytelling, who are looking at writing it. But see, so any platform will have the requirement of, say, one crime drama, a thriller, the second crime drama, the third
Mostly
crime drama.
dramas,
Then after that, that's it. They don't want more than 3-4 crime dramas, right? How many ever different variation. Then you will want a romantic comedy or a family drama or an action thriller kind of, or sci-fi or horror or whatever the platform feels is right for their audience. So after Suzhal, a lot of people started writing crime dramas, but it was too late because by that time all the networks had already put at least 2 or 3 crime dramas into development and production.
Still there. I feel like we're still very much there. But
because
actually I mean, Prime and I mean all the other platforms have also been asking for give us some happy comedy,
opposite,
some romantic stuff.
I was in terms of just sort of the appeal of shows, you know, from theatrical filmmakers. I was talking to C. Prem Kumar recently, who made Medagan, and Vivek Kathir as well, and he said one of the issues that they have is, even though it's very appealing, they said that because there is so much of a feedback loop of, you know, working with platforms, and it takes a long time, 6 months, a year, just to sort of develop the show, whatever it is. They're like, in that time, I can just go and make a film and release it theatrically. So I was curious if you think that might be one of the issues.
No, actually, see, it's we've been working with Amazon Prime on multiple shows, right? And it's also a relationship which is built on a certain trust.
Us, I mean,
so for us, the creative process loop has never been long. So even on season 1, when we gave them the first pitch, it got into development very quickly. We argued a lot about contracts and stuff like that because all that is new to us. So that took us a little while to wrap our head around signing those contracts and all that. And also, in that time, we were also figuring out the structure and stuff like that. But every time we send an episode, the reply mail used to come within 2 days, 3 days max. That was their feedback.
I mean, at least personal experience, I mean, even the other shows we're producing, like we will give the creators a lot of feedback, and after that only it goes. So I mean, all that vetting will happen, and from the platform as such, there's not been too much grief. I mean, there's like hardly any notes.
Yeah, no, I didn't even mean about notes. It was just interesting because I was trying to understand whether the format appeals to them, and they said one of those things of, you know, we can move faster theatrically versus sort of, I guess, with the series.
So here, that process, the overall process is longer because you'll have to go through development, and then you'll have to give a very clear budget,
and the format demands that.
Because you have to be very precise in how you're scheduling the shoot and all that, right? So all the projects we're working now, that is a 5, 6, 7 months period when this is happening. So what we do is with our creators who are working with us on shows with Amazon, we take that buffer. So as that process is happening, our creators' prep work is happening, their casting is happening. So all that is happening parallelly. So the project is on. So we might still be waiting for a certain thing to get done through the networks or the final approval to come and all that. But the understanding is, it is going to be greenlit. So it might be the paperwork will take another week because some tax policy will have to be done and all that. But those are nitty-gritties which a producer handles. You need to keep moving forward for the show. So if you take a film, it will take about the same time. Now, if you're waiting for every part of the process to be done before you move to the next step, then it will feel like a very long thing.
I mean, we start prep even before like formal things come up, because we need a lot of prep time. So there's no point in,
So once the green light happens, we are usually ready to go to shoot within a month because all the prep has been done.
I guess that's why you're the favorite that they always call because you can move that fast.
With long form storytelling, I think if you remember the HBO series from a time before, they used to have that 1 year cadence kind of thing because there was a commitment from HBO that it is definitely going to go into a second season.
And there's an infrastructure that lets you churn that out fast.
Yeah. So you have those writers' room who can basically write a season out in 40 days, 50 days. Like 8 episodes, 10. Actually, that time it used to be 13 episodes, if you remember. 13 episodes in 40 days, 50 days. We right now don't have that kind of resources in terms of writers. But it is happening. I think within the next 4 years, 5 years, for prestige TV, for the larger shows, for the cinematic television shows, we will have that ecosystem where hopefully we can do that 1.5 year cadence. 1 year still seems like there's no way we can finish writing.
But 18 months to 24
18 months to 24 months is, I think, doable.
Yeah. That's hopeful and very optimistic. I also wanted to ask you a theatrical question and just get a sense of where you think we are, because this seems to be true in multiple industries, the idea that the biggest films are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and everything else is sort of languishing. That seemed to be the case with Malayalam cinema last year. It's definitely the case with Hindi cinema. And something again that both Vivek Atria and Prem Kumar told me was that the kind of calls they get from producers now is basically go bigger. And even if you're a blockbuster filmmaker, no, go bigger, we want the massive hits. And so I guess, is that something that you are also facing in the theatrical work you're doing? And I guess a second part to that is, could Vikram Vedha get made today, the Tamil version, theatrically, or would there again be a pressure to go big and go big and go big?
See, I mean, like second part, we'll come to it later. See, one thing, I think somewhere even we think, I mean, it's not a choice. It's not like the way things are evolving. See, like what has happened in Hollywood a few years back. Only the big spectacle films actually attract audience. As in, it needs to be an experience for you to take your vehicle out and go and park and pay for your popcorn and sit and enjoy. It needs to be an experience. So the smaller intimate stories have in Hollywood, I think they've moved to
they're all shows.
The screen a long time back. So that is the truth of it. I mean, whether you like it or not, that is happening. And Bombay also that's happened.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
India
mid-budget
also
movies
that
are
is
show.
happening. So see, Tamil also, you'll have these 1 or 2 random small films which is doing well. So, or Hindi or any market, no, but those are just the exceptions. You can't take them as the trend. Oh no, see, look, that film worked. Every year, some 230 films get released in Tamil alone. 230 to 250. Out of that, you have some 3-4 small films which have kind of made money. So those are not the rules; they are the exceptions. So somewhere the truth is, people are going to the theatre. They want a larger than life experience, and I think we are also. I mean, what we've written also, we're trying to cater to something. I mean, because if we start now, it will come out in another 2 years or so. So we need to preempt that. So we are looking at that space.
The other criteria for how you decide on a project also is and it's always usually a hero based, whatever I'm going to say now. So for any given hero, right, there is a certain market. Okay, now this number is something which most people in the industry would agree on. Say X actor, he has a market of 75 crores. Now the 75 crores is including theatrical, your OTT sales, your satellite sales, all the avenues together. Say he has a 75 crore market. When they say go bigger, what they say is you don't take a 75 crore hero market and do a film which looks like a 20 crore film. Now, when they say go bigger, it doesn't mean you go bigger than 75 crores. We are at that stage where it might be bigger than this market because the story requires that. So right now, what they want is something which the popular conception of a hero's market, it is satisfied by the film both in terms of optics, but there is a perception that it's a large film. So it's actually that regimented. And I think it's the same for Hindi, it's the same for Telugu, it's the same for Malayalam. You take a Malayalam star and everybody will say X star has this market. Do a film which will give you a little space. Don't go over that. Your maximum gamble on that is the 5%, 10%. Right. So if it's a 100 crore market, you can go up to 110 crores, but not more than that. This is the reality. When you take a big star and put them into a smaller film which doesn't have the perception of it being a 100 crore film, no, the chances of it tanking are really high. Because see, you would have paid the actor his market value, which would have made a big dent on it, and then you make a film which looks small. So if you take a big actor and put him in an intimate drama, no, which every director would love to do that, and a lot of actors will also want to explore that side, no. I mean, they've done these massive spectacles. Imagine the biggest star doing an adult romance, like a grown-up, mature romance. We all think it will work wonders, but the sad state of the market is that if you have a big star, you have to do a big film. You can't do a small film with a big star. That is a reality which I think Hindi cinema got to know early. But Tamil and Telugu have usually never done that. They'll never take a big star and put them in a small film. Those experiments, when it happens, if it doesn't work, no, then that thing dies down.
Actually, small film, big film as in scope of the story.
Narrative scope.
Because right now it feels like what the producers will tell every big filmmaker is, give me franchise, give me Pushpa, give me Pan India, just go big, give me cinematic universe.
See, the thing is, that also, no, I mean, nobody will ask you to make a Pushpa because it costs a lot. So that perception of it being big, but within the, actors market ambit. I mean, probably another 5%, 10%.
Yeah.
But that larger than life or whatever, no, some theatrical like that thing, I guess they will accept. I mean, they will
because
expect.
The reality is, an actor's salary is a significant portion of the overall budget. Say it's 50%. Sometimes it could go up more or maybe, but roughly around that. So the remaining 50% is what you're spending on production. And the market is, say, 100 crores. Now, with this balance 50%, you have to make a film look like a 100 crore film. And the audience don't get fooled in this. They know what a 50 crore film looks like, what a 100 crore film looks like, and what a 300, 400 crore film looks like. You can't do a film for 50 crores and say, I spent 300 crores on this.
You can see
no audience would buy that because they're smart. I mean, they're seeing stuff all around the world. So you need to show more than what your budget can actually even accommodate. So there's no point in having like large visions of storytelling if you don't have an actor who has actually a much bigger market than this 50 crores which you can afford to spend on that film. So to make a film for 100 crores, I mean, if you have to spend 100 crores on the production of the film, you need a 100 crore star. Then it becomes a 200 crore project. If you have to do a 150 crore film, you need a 150 crore star. So
I do think that the one difference I will make is, I do think the big stars in Tamil cinema, the difference is they actually pull audiences in, whereas Hindi cinema, I don't know if that's still the case.
See,
that's my
take.
I
think that is also the cyclic nature of things. We have also gone through really bad phases in Tamil cinema, and Telugu cinema went through extremely bad phases. The past couple of years post-pandemic have been good to Telugu, not so much to Tamil, because Tamil also, not all the big films are working. I think Hindi, whatever said and done, the big stars over here, the capacity to pull the audience exists. We just need to find the right words to get them in. So I think that's a search. I mean, it'll happen. Every generation, there'll be that period of lull, and then like how Karan Johar did what he did in the 90s, right? And early 2000s. So he brought in something which started pulling in the audience all over again. After the euphoria of the 80s, the 90s were actually bad for cinema.
And most producers to find that in Hindi cinema are currently looking at Malayalam, Tamil, Kannada and Telugu cinema.
Do you have it? I mean, when you search everywhere, I guess.
I guess it's like a cyclic thing. I mean, Malayalam also, I mean, they're going on strike, no? Like, the industry has faced like some 800 crore loss. And
I feel like that dichotomy is exactly where we are theatrically, where they had this record year last year of these massive films, these wonderful massive films, Avesham, Manjumal Boys, and they're breaking all these records. And at the same time, you have an industry going on strike because everyone else is not.
So for our perspective, no, for us, what is most disturbing is this polarization of the wins and the losses. So if it wins really big, like how Manjumal Boys did. But if it fails, no, you're looking at a film collecting 45,000 rupees, 50,000 rupees a day across the state. So you're looking at a film collecting less than 1 crore in its lifetime run.
Like earlier, it was like, whether you're a mid-budget star or like a alternate actor or whatever, everybody has okay, this guy is a 4 crore market guy. This guy is like a 10 crore. This is like 100 crore. So if it is not 10, you'll make 7, 8. Or if it does well, like 14, 15. Now it is like all or nothing. There's nothing in between. So that is the scary part.
Yeah, that's the scary part. And we also strongly believe that the big films need to do well for the industry to be good. Because once the habit of going to the theatres gets inculcated by the big star vehicle films, which are celebration of the cinematic experience, then on that weekend when there's a no star film, that the habit of like, hey, let's go watch something in the theatres will still be there. And I don't think this is a competition to OTT platforms or to television in any way. I think all of these can exist because there are different expectations of what you're going to see from that medium, and as long as the content lives up to that expectations, it is good enough. You don't go into a theater to see the kind of storytelling which you can see in OTT, and you don't come to OTT to see this cars blowing up, White House blowing up kind of action films. Why would you come to an OTT to see when you can see that in the theaters? So the expectation which a medium creates, is a very important thing. This
so the right story for the right medium.
Marshall McLuhan had a line called "The medium is the message." So that for us is the be all and end all about how the medium as such influences what you can say. And if we are smart about it over the next 2-3 years, which I think we are at the cusp as an industry, Hindi, Tamil, Telugu, we are at the cusp of either losing our audience completely or figuring out ways by which we can keep them actively
But I think
involved.
we need to like really buck up and like do something. Otherwise, we are lost to reels. I mean, like, so there's
that
nothing
is a competition.
else. Then there's nothing like, older films were great or this thing. We just have to make sure we buck up and like do all our best to like retain as much attention as possible.
Scary but accurate. Which brings me back to my earlier question. Apart from the fact that the story does lend itself to a great show, could Vikram Vedha be made today theatrically? Or
Yeah, absolutely.
Vikram Vedha will get
absolutely. See, thing is, the story has ambition. The story, I mean, it can be mounted in whatever budget, but it is not an intimate story. It is not a small story. It is like, it has action, it has big ideas and big conflicts. So that, that is also like
on that
form of spectacle.
There was a decision which we made, and this was also in consultation with Sashi, our producer, Wine Studios. So when we were talking about Vikram Vedha as a story, and this is the concept, and we were writing it, a key decision was made in presenting it as an mass film. Okay, so there's a difference between mass, masala, class and all that. So in the definition in Tamil cinema, this is a mass film. So that whole sequence of Veda coming and surrendering, that could have been a 10-second sequence because that's all you need for the narrative beat.
It's an excellent sequence.
But you pull that moment, you give that moment in a way which the audience have known to appreciate a hero entry. So you give that, but you're giving it to the villain. So you're changing the trope. Now you're starting to think, is Veda villain? How can he be the villain when you're giving him a hero introduction? So now the audience is now willing to listen to the next scene, which is the conversation between Vikram and Veda, where we poise the thesis of the film. Why are they listening is because you've given them something which they are used to and now they are interested. So this was a very conscious decision to actually, our first draft, second draft, third draft of Vikram Vedha was way more esoteric, was way more intellectual in its approach. It was philosophical in the way we wanted to shoot it, cover it and all that. But as we kept working,
made it massier.
It's the same story, but you have a lot more people coming in. You give them access. You don't make it inaccessible. Oh, this is not for you. So it is the same thing, but you bring them in, you include them, no? Then it like, you know, they are willing to listen to whatever you're trying to say.
We come from a background where in film school, we used to fight with our screenwriting and our directing profs about if they speak about mainstream narrative structure and all, no, we are avant-garde. So we come from
When
that
did that
background.
change?
Actually,
That changed after we came back and realized that, hey, we want to tell stories which people will come and actually
For an
watch.
audience.
It used to be snooty, like we'll watch only subtitle films.
Yeah.
And
At
stuff
one
like
point
that.
of time, we were thinking of films as installation art. We wanted, like I did
Museums.
videos as backgrounds for a play.
Speaking as a proud dumb person, I'm so glad you don't do that.
No, I think the shift happened because what are we trying to do? This cinema is going to take a lot of effort of a lot of people. It's not like me and Gayatri sitting alone in a room and writing
like,
a book.
Yeah,
It is-
poetry or book, no, it's like a very personal thing. This is like, you involve like some 300 people. I mean,
And you wanna reach
so
people.
much
Yeah.
money.
And the best part is if you go to the first day, first show of a film in Chennai or in Hyderabad, and if it's a big star film, what you want cinema to do, that will do. I mean, the euphoria over there, the
celebration
of
for cinema,
it's the
no?
celebration of the star
Yeah.
from one perspective. But from the other perspective, it is the celebration of this art form called cinema. I mean,
And that language of it.
And then cinema culture, yeah. Like
so, when say A.R. Rahman's name comes in or Yuvan Shankar Raja names comes in, no, there'll be such wild cheers. And when Maniratnam's name comes on screen, no, people will put rockets and throw. So there is a celebration of everything about cinema. So it was one of those things which we realized that this community experience is something which is worth chasing. Instead of being very arty, intellectual about it, because we felt that is the easier way. This is way tougher. It's way tougher to get this. And I mean, it's not like we want to do a kind of mainstream cinema which has to cater to people, but we are trying to tell our stories, but package it. I don't like using the word package it, but it is packaging. You
make it more accessible.
make it more accessible, so people do come in. That's
I'm getting a look, so I'll just take one last question from you. What can we expect next from you? Where do we see you next? Obviously, I'm hoping season 3 is already in the works. I know that cycle takes a long time to start. And there was
we've got certain ideas for season 3.
Yeah.
I mean, it will take some time for it
to crack the murder.
Those things like those 4 points of no return, we have 2. We need 2 more. Till that cracks, nothing is going to happen.
And there was reports of a Telugu film theatrically that you guys were looking at. Is that?
There are a lot of
There are
reports.
a lot of things, I'm doing that and this. But actually, we just finished writing a feature. I mean, it just took a long time. So now we are in a happy space. We are happy with the script. So that is our starting point. Then
Actually,
I guess we'll start,
it just cracked like a month or so ago. Otherwise, you'll be seeing like one scowling face sitting over here. Because that process for us till it actually cracks. Now it's cracked. So the next step would be moving it forward, mounting it, getting the right people on board. But we are hoping that will be soon, very soon.
Sometime end of the year, beginning of next
Very
year.
exciting times. Both as a fan, both theatrically and on streaming, we look forward to it. And just as a fan of the show, I really look forward to more seasons and this season in particular. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
so much.